Hello friends, I am Narendra Verma once again before you. In business studies class, earlier we finished chapter number 1, chapter number 2 and recently the chapter number 3, that was business environment. As I promised you that very soon we are going to meet in the another video, so here I am. So today we are going to start the next chapter in business studies for class 12 CBSE syllabus, that is planning, right? And related to this chapter, today we are going to learn these topics: meaning of planning, definition of planning, and features or characteristics of planning, right? So let's start that. So the very first question, what is planning? Let me tell you something about planning. This is not a new term. Actually, planning you must have heard a lot in your daily routine life. See what happens if you are thinking to do something in future. If you are thinking about your career, if you are thinking about attending a marriage party, if you are thinking about watching movie, if you are thinking about preparing food, if you are thinking about studying a particular subject for the examination, right? So if you are thinking about any future activity, right now you start making some strategies for that. You start noting down some steps that you are going to take. You start finding out what can be the possible ways to complete that task, right? What you will have to do, how many activities you will have to do, what will be the timing, how long the particular activity will take, everything you will think about. Okay, so this thinking is known as planning, right? Planning is nothing but thinking before doing. Before doing any activity, if you are thinking about it and thinking in the manner how you are going to do that activity in the best manner, how long you are going to take, what time you will perform what. Okay, so all this comes under planning. So this is what the explanation understood by any individual, right? Now let's talk about planning in business parlance. Okay, so from business point of view also the same is there. Okay, in business also an enterprise has to think before doing. Before adopting any move, they'll have to think about it. Okay, because every business has some objectives. Planning starts with the inception of business. Okay, when a person starts thinking about setting up an enterprise, that also comes under planning. And when he has set up an enterprise, then he makes objectives. Okay, year after year they keep on setting the objectives. They keep on setting the specific or general goals. Okay, specific goals are achieved in a short period, general goals are achieved in a long period. Okay, so the organization keep on setting the specific as well as the general goals. Okay, or sometimes we know them by the name of mission, vision, etc. Okay, so if they are setting their goals, objective, mission, vision, that is all related to planning. Okay, thereafter they think about achieving those objectives, and then they think how many possible ways can be there to achieve those objectives. Okay, and out of those ways, methods, measures, or we call them alternative courses of action, they'll have to select one best way. And what is the definition of best? Best means which is efficient and as well as effective. Efficient as well as effective, right? Then they choose one best method to achieve their goals in a specified period. And that is all the planning. Planning actually as I told you, it is thinking before doing, and planning involves what to do, when to do, how to do, and who will do what. If you already thought about it, either you have noted down on a paper, or you have noted down on some sheet, or in your mind you have thought about it, that is what planning. Planning bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Okay, say for example, the organization is there at this level, and if they want to reach at this level, then for reaching up to this level, they'll have to do planning, right? Like I said, that planning bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. This is the present and this is the future. At present may be possible, say for example, there is the one ABC enterprise, and at present it has turnover of rupees 1,20,000, okay, and profit of rupees 28,000. Okay, so this is what the present position. Okay, and they think within 1 year, they just want to reach on the position that is turnover of rupees 2,40,000 and profit of rupees 50,000. Okay, so this is the present of this ABC enterprise, and this can be the future of this ABC enterprise after 1 year. But from here to reach here, they'll have to make a bridge, and that bridge will be known as planning. They'll have to plan that how this objective is going to be achieved, how our turnover is going to be double, and how our profit is going to increase. What sort of activities we'll have to do, what changes we need to make, how many people we need to hire, what marketing activities we have to take, what advertisement we have to run. Okay, and they'll have to do the market analysis, etc. That everything comes under planning. Now you must have understood what is the meaning of planning, right? So like I told you that planning is thinking before doing. It bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be, and it involves finding out the various methods to complete a task, or we call it various alternative courses of action. Then it also involves the selection of the best course of action, right? Okay, and remember, this is all done within a given time framework, right? As I told you that this is there within 1 year, may be possible. For 4 years, 5 years, or 10 years, they have different objectives or plans or visions. Understood? So accordingly the plans going on. Okay. You must have understood the meaning of planning. Now let's move on to the definition of planning. With the help of all this information that I have just shared with you, we can make the definition of it, right? I'll just show you how. So this is the definition of planning. Like I told you, with the help of the information I have just shared, you can frame the definition of planning, right? And what is the definition? Let's have a look. Planning refers to the process. Already we know that planning is one of the functions of management, and all the functions of management are process in themselves. Understood? So planning is the process. Process means it has various steps. In future we will be studying these steps of planning as well. Okay, so planning refers to the process of setting objectives, okay, for a given time period. Like I told you that for a given time period the objectives are set. Okay, so it refers to the process of setting objectives for a given time period, formulating various courses of action to achieve them. Like I told you that planning involves finding out the all possible ways to complete the task, and those all possible ways are also known as various courses of action. Understood? Okay, and then selecting the best possible alternative course of action. Then say for example there are 5 methods to complete a task, then one best method has to be selected. Okay, so does that selection also come under planning? So then selecting the best possible alternative course of action with an aim to achieve the set objective. The objective that you have set, why you are selecting that courses of action? Because your aim is to achieve the set objectives most effectively and efficiently. As I told you that, what is the definition of best? Best means effectiveness and efficiency should be there. Okay, effectiveness should be there because we need to get the work completed in time, okay, as per the standard, and efficiency means we cannot compromise with the quality. Okay, it has to be cost effective as well as maximum benefit should be given. Understood? So this is what the definition. Planning refers to the process of setting objectives for a given time period, formulating various courses of action to achieve that, and then selecting the best possible alternative course of action with an aim to achieve the set objectives most effectively and efficiently. Right? So this was all about meaning and definition of planning. Now we are moving towards the features or characteristics of planning. But remember, from the meaning and definition only the features are formed. Okay, so be focused about it, right? So these all are the features, or you can call them characteristics of planning. What are? Planning is a mental exercise, planning is futuristic, planning is continuous, planning focuses on achieving objectives, planning is a primary function of management, planning involves decision making, and planning is pervasive. Let me tell you one more thing. In your book, whatever book you are referring to, okay, in that you will find a different sequence of these features. I have written them in a different sequence due to this code. You know very well that every time I just give you a different and unique code to remember all the points all together. So once again, the code is here is, so as I told you that funny codes we prepare, we'll have to imagine a situation, because we know very well our mother and father are the conservative people, but they are changing with the time. So now you can imagine a situation, mother and father can also post DP. DP means display picture that you keep on setting on your WhatsApp and Facebook. Okay, so mother and father can also post DP. Okay. So here M stands for mental exercise, F stands for futuristic, C stands for continuous, A stands for achieving objectives, P stands for primary function of management, and D stands for decision making, and last P stands for pervasive. Understood? So that is why mother and father can also post DP. So now let's understand all these features one by one with suitable examples. As the first point of features of planning is a mental exercise, right? Let's discuss that. Mental exercise. What does it mean? Mental exercise means which involves mental ability or the use of logical analysis and systematic evaluation, for which particularly a person has to think. Okay, he has to think innovatively, creatively, right? It's all about thinking. Let me tell you something, that the person or the group, whoever is going to plan for the business organization, what they'll have to do, very first they'll have to collect all the facts available and the data of the previous years. Only then they can think about future, right? Like I gave example when I was explaining you the meaning of planning, that there is some enterprise and after 1 year they have planned to achieve that target. So why they kept only that target? Okay, when they had the turnover of rupees 1,20,000, then why they thought that within 1 year they can just double it? Why not triple? Why not 1.5? And why not half? Understood? Why not they thought that next year will be achieving the turnover 2 lakh or 3 lakh or 5 lakh, right? On the basis of the facts and available data of the previous year and observation of the current situations of the business environment. And one more thing is added, that is what the imagination of future. Okay, just keeping all the present situations in the mind, they have imagined about future. Only then they could set the target, because setting target or objective is also the part of planning, right? Okay, so when a group or a person sits to plan for future, they'll have to think with the available information of the present scenario that in future what is going to happen. They'll have to analyze all aspects of the available facts and forecast on the basis of those. They'll have to anticipate that what is going to happen, what will be the reaction of their competitors, what will be the reaction of the government, what will be the reaction of the customer, all sort of things they'll have to think. That is why planning is a mental exercise. Understood? So planning is an intellectual activity of thinking rather than doing. In planning, the execution part is minimum, but the thinking process is the maximum. Okay, after thinking, a person can store that information in his mind or note down on paper or prepare some soft copy of that PPT or anything else. That's another matter. That is the secondary part. That is there to make other people understand about it. Okay, but very first they'll have to do the mental analysis of the available facts, information and data, so that they can anticipate the future course of action. They can have the idea of the reaction of the environment. Okay, so that is why planning is a mental exercise. Understood? Now let's move on to another feature. So the another point of feature is planning is futuristic. Futuristic means something related to future. Planning is also known as a forward-looking function. Why? Because it always talks about future. On the basis of the available information and data, like I already explained you, the anticipations are made for future. Okay, not for past or present. The anticipations are made for future. Okay, so planning is thinking in advance. Okay, or you can call it just PP into future, just to have idea that if any event is happening in the business environment, then what will be the reaction and how the business enterprise can take the benefit of it, or they need to escape it. They'll have to be prepared for that. Okay, or when we talk about setting their objectives, then how it is going to be achieved, what will be the reaction of the market, okay, how the challenges will be overcome, everything they'll have to anticipate and be prepared for that. Okay, strategies are formed, policies are formed, okay, budgets are made, everything is there for future, nothing is for present or past. Understood? So planning is always futuristic. Fine. Like I told you that with the help of the information I gave you for meaning and definition of planning, you can understand the features, because meaning and definition include all the features if we study them through different aspects. For understanding with the help of example, we can continue the same example. I gave you the example that the organization planned that in next year they will be achieving that target. So that is for future, right? Okay, people always plan for future. Understood? So now let's move on to another point of feature. Fine. So the next point of features of planning is continuous, right? Continuous means which keeps on going on and on, which never stops, right? Like I told you, the example that the organization plans for 1 year. Now after completion of 1 year, when they achieve the target, what they'll do? They'll plan for next year, and after achieving that they will plan for next years, right? So in that way planning carries on and on and on, right? It never stops. So planning is that kind of process which is continuously going on in the organization at various levels. Okay, when one sort of objectives are achieved, then the organization plans for the other objectives and other courses of actions to achieve that. Okay, and then selecting the best way to achieve that, and after achieving those objectives another planning is done. Okay, so as it is done for a given time period, when the time period ends, then there is a need to plan for the next period, right? So planning is a continuous activity. Now let's move on to another point of future. So the another point is planning focuses on achieving objectives. Okay, as we know that planning starts with setting objectives, whether these are the general goals or specific goals. Okay, all the goals are set in the beginning, right? And the all activities therefore are planned in the manner so that these all set objectives are achieved. Okay, so planning mainly focuses on achieving the objectives that have already been set. Okay, say for example that there is the organization which spends a lot of time in planning, and at the end of the year or at the end of the period their planning is not successful. Most of the time it is happening. Sometimes we can understand, but every time it is happening that they are not able to achieve their goal. So tell me that planning is useful or not? Not at all. That planning is meaningless. Planning becomes meaningless unless it positively contributes something for the achievement of the already determined goals, right? The goals or objectives which have already been determined, the planning mainly focuses on that. Okay, if your planning is not being supportive to achieve those, it means your planning is having a lot of flaw. Okay, that planning is meaningless. Okay, so this is the another feature of planning. Planning focuses on achieving objectives, right? Now let's move on to another feature. So the another point of features of planning is a primary function of management. Okay, like already we learned in first chapter, there are 5 functions of management: planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling, right? So out of these 5 functions of management, the planning comes first. And why it comes first? Because all these 4 functions depend on this. Okay, if the planning is not done in an enterprise, then organizing will be meaningless. Why? Because until unless it hasn't been decided that how many resources are needed, then how the resources will be arranged. Understood? If you are going to plan a wedding party, then if you do not decide how many equipment, how many things, how many kinds of material are needed, then how these things are going to be achieved? Very first you'll have to think about it, right? If you are going to throw a party to anyone, then you select a menu for that. Okay, only then the vegetables and other ingredients and other materials can be arranged, right? So planning becomes the base for all the rest functions of management. Okay, after planning only the organizing can be done in better way. Okay, under planning also we decide that how many people will be required to complete a task, right? So in staffing we arrange those people, fine. Okay, so in short we can say planning lays down a framework. Within that framework all the functions of management take place. Okay, or you can say revolve around. Fine, within that framework. So that framework is given by planning. So that is why it is said that planning is a primary function of management. Okay, it becomes basis. If it is not done, then no other function of management can be applied in a better way. Okay, because in planning, everything is decided, what is to be done, how it is to be done, who will be doing what, and how long it is going to take, right? So everything, whether you talk about organizing, staffing, directing and controlling, these all managerial functions depend on planning. Okay, so that is why planning is a primary function of management. Management starts with planning only. Okay, it ends with controlling, but it starts with planning. That is why it is said a primary function of management. Now let's move on to another feature. Okay, so the another point of features of planning is planning involves decision making. Decision making is what? Just to select the best possible alternate course of action. We studied in the definition already. So decision of selection is the part of planning. That is why planning involves decision making. Because in planning, we have already learned that there are various alternative courses of actions found out, right? Thereafter, the analysis of all the alternative courses of action is done. They all are analyzed, evaluated, and after doing the proper analysis and evaluation of all those options available, okay, the decision is taken. The best alternate course of action is selected, right? And that is what? Decision making. And that decision is taken on the basis of the experience and the available information, right? So that is why it is said that planning involves decision making. Decision making is the integral part of planning. We cannot separate it, or we better say that if we remove decision making out of planning, then planning will be called incomplete. Because you keep making everything, keep doing anything until unless you decide to do something, you pick one option to move forward, then the planning is not completed. Understood? So planning is completed when the decision making is the part of that. Okay, so that is why it is said that planning involves decision making. Understood? So now let's move on to another feature. So this is the last feature. Planning is pervasive. And what does it mean? Already we know in the management we learned that management is pervasive. We learned in coordination is pervasive. Pervasive means something which is present everywhere, right? Planning is present everywhere at every level of management, whether it is lower level of management, middle level of management or top level of management. Already we have learned that. Okay, yes, I accept that the function of planning is exercised more, or we can say the most, at top level of management. But it doesn't mean that the planning is not done at middle level or lower level, right? At all levels of management we get planning, right? Planning is done at all levels of management in an organization, whether the organization is the profit earning one or it is the non-profit earning one. Everywhere, wherever you want to see, you will get the plan, right? In hospitals, in schools, it is done by every individual, and in all the departments planning is done. Fine? Okay, but the nature and scope of planning may vary as per the requirement. Understood? So planning is present everywhere, because if an enterprise has thought to do something in future, then planning has come, planning has entered, right? So if we want to do anything, we want to achieve something, and we have started thinking about it, it means it has planning in it, right? So planning cannot be separated from any activity of business, because in business we do not take decisions just like that. We just take decision on the basis of some information and facts. Okay, so in business, all the activities involve planning. Fine. So that is why it is said that planning is pervasive. Okay. So this was all for today's topic. We discussed the meaning, definition and features of planning. I told you the code as well to remember all the points of features. Okay, very soon I'll be meeting you in the another video taking the planning chapter further. Till then, thank you, bye bye.